In spite of heavy commercial demands in catering to the lowest common denominators, some actors not just survived but honed their craft over time. Then there were composers, singers and musicians who kept the spirit and art alive. Asha Bhosle, for one, is someone who again I admire for taking life by the horns and continuing to survive with great gusto all kinds of challenges, never letting it affect her singing, never giving up. For me, the journey has been not just fascinating, but one that is really rich with insights about people's behavior, the change in values over the years, and the hypocrisy of the make-believe world of films. I wonder sometimes whether people here in the film world, creative, crazy, hungry for fame and name or unlimited wealth, are living in the real world or acting out their real-life characters like in a movie. The tragedy is that their struggles were real, as were their agonies and ecstasies, as many had to compromise on their art, their self-esteem or their personal life in the face of business and box office interests. And I learned compassion as I watched their struggles over the last so many years. Sorry. Looking back, I have been fortunate to have had access to a range of people from the film industry, from the stars to the spot boys, and from the highly creative and intellectual to the pseudos and vendors of flesh. In the end, everyone wanted a piece of the cake, but no matter how much they got, it was never enough. My journey has been a long one, also a very eventful one. There has been no dull moment in my life. My parents gave me the immense wealth of education and independent thought, and I was fortunate also to have access to a world of transformation through the Landmark Forum and through the teachings of Werner Erhard. Whether faced with success or failure, I could remain grounded and work to better myself and make a difference in the world through my conversations, lectures, workshops, or my films, which gave me an unimaginable power to communicate my thoughts and feelings to the world, sometimes to question, sometimes to provoke, sometimes to guide, and sometimes simply to share.
Thank you. Good evening. I haven't had the good fortune of working with her, but today it is my good fortune to read from her autobiography, and I asked her what I should read. So she suggested this piece, which also interests me, which is from another world, the past life regression. Also, what I really like about it concludes into the present, and it is her opinion on a problem that plagues us all today. My determination to evolve and find meaning and purpose in my life, and my suffering, led me to try all kinds of meditation techniques, but I was never faithful to any one method. I even attended Vipassana classes at Igatpuri near Nashik for 10 days. It was quite demanding and rigorous, but I stuck through it. At that time, what showed up on my radar was past life. I had read a lot of books by Dr. Brian Weiss and Dr. Goldberg and was curious to know about my own life, trying to find some answers. Ranga used to conduct past life regression sessions for people to access their past lives, which helped them deal with their present life traumas and bring closure to issues that were incomplete in their lives. He suggested that I attend one. We arranged a session in a small hotel in Nagod, Thane that he owned with some friends. There were many things that I had an affinity towards, many things I abhorred, and I had no idea where it all came from, since there was no direct associations in the present life. My attachment to Paris or my extreme anger at men who molested, raped, or ill-treated women had no reference in the present life. The past life session untangled all that. Initially, there were fleeting images of me in France, maybe in Paris, dancing at a ball and being wooed by admirers. Then there was another bit in which I was a soldier in a trench fighting a war somewhere in Europe. Then I came upon something which was like a film I was watching. After almost 25 years or more, it is still so clear. Ranga attributed my capacity for strong visualization to the fact that I was a filmmaker. The setting was again somewhere in France on a farm. I was a chubby child of 5 and a woman who looked like a maid was bathing me in a round wooden tub. The water was very hot and steam was coming off my chubby pink body. She got me out of the tub and wrapped me in a towel, patting me dry. Then she put me on the bed so she could dress me.
I'm going to read a little bit about, when I made Rihai, how it was for me. And Hema was there, you see. My divorce was going on, my marriage had fallen apart, and I had to somehow stand for myself and do something with my life. And that's how I made Rihai. And all of them were so cooperative. Ila's there, she played a remarkable role in that, and many others, most of them are here, many of them are here. And they all worked so well with me, worked for peanuts, and stood by me, stood for me. And one person I remember amongst all of them is also, I'd like to say a few words about Vinod Khanna. He was a very good friend. He really helped me when I needed help. I didn't have money for the first print of Rihai. And he gave me just money just like that and I said, but I don't know when and how and whatever. He said, payable when able. And thankfully I could pay that money back. But they all went out of their way to help me, and I do want to acknowledge Vinod as a very good human being who, and everybody, there's not much we can talk about him, everybody knows, but one thing I will say, thank you Vinod for everything, and we miss you. Now to come to the part that I want to read, we went to a God-forsaken village. Now of course it's Vadnagar, and it was Vadnagar then, but it turns out to be it was Mr. Modi's village, so it got known. But otherwise it was a God-forsaken village then, some 30 years ago. This was 30 years back. Anyway, I completed the film, but my ordeal was not yet over. The film I was making did not obviously fit into the typical Hindi film mold. Vinod Khanna, though, was playing a Rajasthani carpenter, wore a dhoti and sported a moustache. My overseas distributor literally hounded me to show Vinod Khanna wearing trousers at least in one scene. In fact, he wanted me to shoot a dream sequence where Vinod and Hema wore urban modern clothes and sang a song. I was stubborn and did not give in. Such a compromise was beyond comprehension. After the film was released, there were so many women who loved the way Vinod looked. They found him sexy in that get-up and drooled over him. In fact, even his wife Kavita, we fell in love when she used to go, really, that was how it was then. The problem with the film was that people did not know how to categorize it. For the commercial industry, it was an art film, and for the art film crowd, it was a commercial film. An art film in those days was recognized by the commercial film industry as one if it had certain values. When parallel cinema came into existence in the 70s, some excellent films had been made, but by the late 80s, it too had developed a formula of its own. What characters?
Thank you very much, Mr. Shah, Arunaraje and Rajeshwari. I think we can go to the next step of the evening. When someone has had a long journey and an eventful journey like Aruna has, there have been many colleagues, collaborators,